If someone had told me the worst mistake would sound like the first truth, I wouldn't have recognized it. Arya knew she was doomed the instant her screen flickered and the little red light on her microphone blinked back at her, still on, very much alive, still betraying her to the entire Gotham conference call. Her stomach dropped like an elevator with the cables cut. There were 25 people in that virtual meeting, 25 professionals with assorted power, interest, and attention spans, but none of them mattered. Only one did, Catherine Voss, CL, untouchable, immaculate, a woman carved from obsidian and Armani, and Arya had just called her an idiot out loud in front of everyone. Worse, she'd added with a long sigh, but I'll admit she's pretty as hell. She didn't realize the mic was live until she heard it bounce back through her own laptop speakers. Like the universe insisting she attend her own funeral in stereo. Then silence, long, cold, unbearably quiet. Arya stared at the screen, every drop of blood evaporating from her face. Her coworker Liam's profile icon had frozen in what looked suspiciously like the emoji for oh no. Someone unmuted, then muted again. And in the center of it all, at the top of the screen, Catherine Voss stared directly into the camera. Come still. Sharp as a guillotine. Her expression didn't change. Not at first. Not even a twitch. Then the smallest curve at the corner of her mouth. Not amusement. Not quite. Something more dangerous. Arya tried to close her laptop. Tried to breathe. Tried to vanish into the floor. None of it worked. Then Catherine finally spoke. Arya Rios, she said, her voice smooth. Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments on a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. Clipped and terrifyingly low. My office now. Then the meeting ended just like that. Arya sat frozen in her chair, eyes wide, laptop screen dark. She had just called her boss, the CEO of a multinational company, both stupid and attractive. On a recorded meeting with HR in attendance in front of every executive in the department. She was going to die or worse, she was going to get fired. And honestly, maybe that would be mercy. The elevator ride to the top floor had never felt so long. Arya had ridden it plenty of times before, usually with a coffee in one hand and her sketch pad in the other, headphones in, hoodie up, avoiding eye contact with upper management. But this time, her palms were sweating, her heart pounding against her ribs like it wanted to escape. When the doors opened, the executive floor was deadly quiet. Too clean, too white, too expensive. She hated it up here. Everything smelled like filtered air and overpriced hand sanitizer. She walked down the hallway like she was approaching a guillotine, heels echoing too loudly on the marble. Catherine's assistant, a statuesque woman named Sabrina with eyes like lasers, gave her a tight smile and gestured to the office door. She's waiting. Of course she is. Arya pushed open the door. And there she was. Catherine stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, hands clasped behind her back, wearing a suit Arya was 90% sure cost more than her monthly rent. She turned slowly, the kind of slow that made you feel like prey. Her eyes locked on Arya, dark, unreadable, and sharp enough to slice open any excuse before it formed. Arya cleared her throat. Miss Voss, I stop, Catherine said. One word, absolute command. Arya's mouth snapped shut. Catherine crossed the room in a few long strides and leaned against her massive desk, arms folded. Do you make a habit of insulting your superiors in company meetings? No, Arya said, voice embarrassingly small. It was an accident. I didn't know my mic was still on. Catherine arched an eyebrow. Yes, clearly. But the fact that it was on isn't the problem, Miss Rios. The fact that you meant it is. I didn't mean it like that. You call me an idiot. Only a little one. Arya tried. Catherine stared at her. Arya wanted to melt through the floor. Then impossibly, Catherine tilted her head. And pretty. Arya's ears burned. I mean that part wasn't untrue. Catherine walked slowly around the desk, not stalking, just moving like she had all the time in the world and knew Arya didn't. You realize, she said, stopping inches from her, that I could fire you right now. Arya lifted her gaze. She seemed taller in person, or maybe the height was power, the way her voice wrapped threats in velvet. Yes, Arya whispered. Then why aren't you apologizing harder? Because I meant what I said. Arya blinked. Had she really said that out loud? Catherine's eyes caught light, not amused, exactly. Intrigued. Interesting. Arya scrambled to recover. I know I messed up, and I'm ready for whatever consequence you decide. I just wanted to be honest. Catherine didn't answer at once. She stepped back to her desk, pressed the intercom. Sabrina, clear my next hour. Yes, Miss Voss. Catherine looked over. Sit. Arya lowered herself, wary. We're going to talk, Catherine said, taking the chair opposite. Because I think we've both just found something far more interesting than a firing. Arya's heart slammed. We have? Catherine smiled. Apparently, I'm an idiot, and pretty. She leaned in, voice low, unmistakably flirtatious. And you? You're not nearly as invisible as you think you are. Arya didn't sleep that night. She lay flat, staring at the ceiling while her brain spun like a rigged slot machine replaying the day's worst moments. You're not nearly as invisible as you think you are. The words looped for hours, sheathed in that cold, silken tone Catherine Voss wielded like a scalpel. It hadn't sounded like a threat, but it wasn't quite a compliment. There was something else, spark, a beat held a fraction too long, that infuriating smile. What did it mean? She couldn't say. Only that every time she blinked, she was back at the moment their eyes met, Catherine calm, calculated, unreadable. Arya frozen like a deer in a high-end spotlight. 12 hours later, Arya stood in the elevator, palms damp, trying to breathe like a normal person. When the doors slid open on her floor, she almost stayed put and rode them back down. No, cowardice would make it worse. She had to prove she could move forward, head down, unremarkable, boring. And then she saw her, Catherine, at the far end of the hall in tailored charcoal gray, speaking with someone from finance. The CEO's profile was impeccable, angled jaw, dark hair pinned back, posture perfect. And then, like in slow motion, Catherine turned her head, their eyes locked. A second, maybe less. Then Catherine smiled. Not a polite smile. Something cooler, smoother, almost private. And then she looked away like nothing had happened, like Arya was just another face in the building. Arya practically sprinted to her desk. Liam was already messaging her on Slack before she could even sit down. You're alive. She typed back barely. He followed. Thought she'd fire you or vaporize you with her death glare. Arya responded, same. But she didn't. Liam sent a string of question marks. Then what did she say? Arya hesitated. Honestly, I don't know. I'm still confused. You think she's going to use it against you later? Liam asked. Arya replied. I think she's already doing it. She tried to focus on her work, but her mind wouldn't cooperate. Every task blurred. Every font she picked felt wrong. And then at exactly 11:13 a.m., her inbox chimed with an email that made her breath catch. From Catherine Voss, subject design input, Arya, I'd like your eyes on the new ad concept before I sign off. Come by my office at 1:00 p.m. The initial panic was immediate, but then came the aftershock. The way her name looked in that email, the dash before the V, like a signature, personal, informal, intentional. It didn't feel like a task. It felt like a summons. At 12:59, Arya stood in front of the CEO's office, trying not to pass out. Sabrina, ever composed, simply gestured for her to go in. Catherine sat behind her massive glass desk, reviewing printed materials with surgical precision. Ms. Rios, she said without looking up. Sit, Arya sat. Catherine tapped the concept sheet in front of her with a perfectly manicured nail. This is competent, clean, but it lacks urgency. There's no emotional pull. Arya cleared her throat. I can work with a copywriter, too. Not words. Catherine cut in. I wanted to provoke something. Visual tension. You understand tension, don't you? Arya blinked. I think so. Catherine finally looked up. Do you? Her voice was even, but her eyes burned like black ice. I've seen your portfolio, your freelance work. It's bold, raw. I don't want the sanitized version of you. I want the edge. You looked at my portfolio? Arya asked stunned. Of course I did, Catherine said. I make it my business to know who's worth paying attention to. Her gaze was steady, sharp. Especially the ones who call me an idiot and pretty in the same breath. Arya turned beet red. That was honest, Catherine said. And rare. People lie to me all day. It's dull. Arya shifted in her seat. The room suddenly felt smaller. I'm not trying to impress anyone. Good, Catherine said. Because you already did. There was a long silence between them, then thick with something that wasn't quite professional. Catherine removed her glasses. I want you to rework the concept. Give me something that feels dangerous. Arya nodded slowly. Dangerous. Can you handle that? I think so. Think carefully, Catherine said. Because if you give me something safe, I'll know you didn't listen. Arya stood, feeling like her legs had turned to jelly. I should get started then. Do Catherine said and Arya? Arya paused. Yes. Catherine's smile was slight, almost imperceptible. You can call me Catherine. You've earned that much. Arya walked out of the office with her pulse hammering. Not from fear. From something far more dangerous. Arya didn't know what was worse. That Catherine had asked for her personally on the new project, or that no one else in the office seemed to think it was weird. By Wednesday, she was in Catherine's office for the third time in 48 hours, seated across from her at a table so polished she could see the reflection of her own nerves in it. She told herself this was normal work professionalism. It wasn't like Catherine was doing anything inappropriate. Not technically. The emails she sent were perfectly phrased. Her instructions were always clear, but it was the way she said things in person, the way her eyes lingered, the way her voice dropped when she said Arya like it was a secret she wasn't supposed to know. Arya was losing her mind. This was the woman who ran the company. This was the woman who could fire her with a single word. But still, every time Catherine leaned in to look at a draft, every time her hand brushed the table inches from areas, something inside her sparked. Today was no different. Catherine stood behind her as Arya swiped through design iterations on a tablet, silent and unreadable. The tension in the air was so thick it felt like gravity itself was bending towards something inevitable. That one, Catherine said, tapping the screen. Her voice was close, right by Arya's ear. You finally stopped playing it safe. You wanted dangerous, Arya muttered. And you listened, Catherine said. Then she stepped back, circling to the front of the table. Arya dared to look at her. Today, Catherine wore a dark navy blouse with the top 2 buttons undone, just enough to distract, just enough to make Arya forget what the hell she was supposed to say next. I want you to present this version to the directors on Friday, Catherine said. Arya blinked. Me? It's your work, but you usually exactly. Which is why it'll get their attention when you speak instead. Arya's throat went dry. That's a lot of pressure. I think you like pressure, Catherine said, watching her too closely. The right kind, anyway. Arya opened her mouth to argue, to deflect, to escape. But the door opened behind them. Sabrina stepped in with a folder, paused, and gave Arya a very slow, very deliberate glance before handing the documents to Catherine. You have that call in 10, she said. Understood, Catherine replied. Sabrina left. Arya shot to her feet. I should go. Catherine didn't stop her. She only said, Friday. 11 a.m. Don't be late. Arya nodded, fled, and spent the next hour in the break room pretending to top off her coffee. Liam found her there, chewing a straw like it was her last defense. Okay, he murmured, lowering his voice. What's happening? Noting, Arialit. We're working on a pitch. You and Voss. Liam snorted. You're either getting promoted or vaporized. Or both, Arya muttered. That night she stayed late to rehearse, alone in the conference room, determined not to embarrass herself in front of senior leadership, and maybe to prove something to Catherine. At 8:47 p.m., while she presented to an audience of empty chairs, her phone buzzed. One new message. Unknown number. Still at the office. Her pulse spiked. A second text followed. If you're going to talk to yourself for an hour, you might as well do it with an audience. She didn't need to ask who it was. A minute later, Catherine stepped into the room, heels soft against the carpet, hair slightly undone as if she'd run a hand through it one time too many. Didn't mean to interrupt, she said smoothly, as though she hadn't just jolted Arya out of her skin. You're really committed to this pitch. I like being prepared, Arya said. Control freak. Maybe. Good. We need more of those. Catherine walked to the head of the table and Saturday, start from the top. What? Your presentation. I want to hear it now. Yes. Right now. I'm the harshest critic you'll get. Impress me and the rest will be easy. Arya swallowed hard, lifted her tablet, and began. Her voice shook at first, but the more she spoke, the more she settled into herself. She believed in the design. She believed in the message. And when she got to the final slide, she looked up and found Catherine watching her. Not like a CEO, not like a boss, but like something else entirely. You know, Catherine said, standing, her gaze steady. If you keep being this good, I won't be able to ignore you. Aria's voice cracked. I thought you already weren't ignoring me. Catherine walked toward her slowly. You're not as careful as you think. I'm not trying to be anything. Exactly. Catherine said. That's what makes you dangerous. You said you wanted danger, Aria whispered. I did, Catherine said. I still do. Then she stepped past her out the door, leaving Aria standing in the dim light of the conference room with her heart pounding loud enough to echo off glass. Friday arrived with the weight of expectation coiled tightly in Aria's chest like a spring about to snap. She'd barely slept, barely eaten, barely thought of anything other than the presentation she was about to give in front of directors, executives, and most terrifying of all, Catherine Voss. Who would be watching from the head of the table with that calm, unreadable expression that made Aria's mouth dry and her brain shut off? By 10:55 a.m., Aria stood outside the glass conference room doors, holding her tablet like a shield. Through the tinted glass, she could already see the directors settling in, coffee cups in hand, shoulders stiff with business day fatigue. Catherine hadn't arrived yet, which made Aria even more nervous. Where was she? Was she even going to come? What if this whole thing was some twisted test she'd never really intended to show up for? No. At exactly 10:59, Catherine appeared, walking toward the conference room with her usual effortless elegance, heels clicking in crisp rhythm, navy blue suit sharp enough to cut. Her hair was pinned back in a loose knot, and the line of her jaw was set like stone. She nodded at Aria as she passed, murmured, "You're ready," and pushed the door open. Aria's legs moved automatically, following her in. She stood at the far end of the table as the runes settled into silence. Catherine sat at the center of power, hands folded, eyes on Aria. "Whenever you're ready, Miss Rios," she said. And just like that, Aria was on. She spoke. Her voice was steady. Her slides were clear. She made eye contact. She pointed out key design elements and strategic color choices. The room nodded. A few directors even scribbled notes, but none of that mattered because the only gaze that mattered, the only one she could feel like heat on her skin, was Catherine's, intense, focused, unmoving when it was over. The room murmured approval, polite claps, quiet congratulations. Someone even said impressive. But Aria only exhaled when Catherine rose from her seat, walked slowly around the table, and stopped beside her. "Well done," she said, voice low enough for only Aria to hear. "You've just raised your own bar." Aria's pulse jumped. "Thank you. Join me after work. Level 28, the tasting room." Aria blinked. "The what?" Catherine's lip curved. "It's where we entertain clients. There's a new campaign being greenlit. I think we should celebrate. Unless, of course, you're busy." "I'm not," Aria said too fast. "I mean, I'll be there." "Good." Then she walked away, leaving Aria standing there with the echo of her perfume and the memory of her voice ringing like a bell. At 6:04 p.m., Aria stepped onto the level 28. She'd never been up there before. The space was sleek, softly lit, filled with modern art and plush furniture. A long table stretched across the center with a few glasses of red wine already poured. Catherine stood near the window, phone in one hand, blazer gone, sleeves rolled up, casual in a way Aria had never seen her. Dangerous in a way she absolutely had. "You came," Catherine said without turning. "Wasn't sure you would. You invited me. That doesn't always guarantee a yes." Aria walked toward the table. "I told you. I'm not afraid of you." "You should be," Catherine said, finally facing her. "I'm not known for playing fair." "Is this a game?" Aria asked, voice low. "Only if you want it to be." Aria picked up a glass of wine, fingers brushing the stem to keep from shaking. "What are we celebrating exactly?" "You," Catherine said. "That presentation was better than I expected. Clean, sharp, confident. You sound surprised." "I'm rarely surprised," Catherine replied. "But you've made a habit of it." Aria took a sip, letting the wine calm her nerves. "So, this is the reward, a recognition," Catherine said, stepping closer. "For being bold, for not hiding, for saying what others wouldn't." Aria looked up. "You mean when I called you an idiot?" Catherine smiled among other things. "I wasn't wrong." "No," Catherine said. "You weren't." The silence stretched. Charged. Neither of them moved. Then, without breaking eye contact, Catherine reached past her to pick up a second glass. The distance between them narrowed to inches. "Do you always say what you think, Ms. Rios?" "Only when I'm not being careful." "And are you being careful now?" Aria's breath caught. "No." Catherine's gaze darkened. "Good." Then she stepped back. "Just like that. Reset the space. Douse the spark. Let me show you the next campaign mock-ups," she said, walking toward the wall panel. "Tell me what you think." Aria blinked, adrenaline still buzzing, but followed. The rest of the hour passed in a blur of slides and strategy, commentary and critique. But under it all was something else, an electric undercurrent neither of them addressed directly, but both fed in glances and silence in the words they didn't say. At 7:12, Catherine closed her laptop. "We're done here." "So soon?" Aria said before she could stop herself. Catherine arched a brow. "Something you'd like to add?" Aria hesitated. "Then what happens next?" A beat, then another. Catherine stepped close again. Close enough that Aria could smell her perfume again. "That depends," she said quietly. "Are you asking as my employee or as the woman who called me pretty when she thought I wasn't listening?" Aria's stomach flipped. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Catherine leaned in, lips near her ear, voice barely audible. "Careful, Aria. One of those answers changes everything." Then she turned and walked out, leaving Aria standing alone in the silence, one heartbeat away from crossing a line she wasn't sure she could ever uncross. The Monday after the presentation felt unreal. Aria had expected to feel lighter, proud even, but instead her chest was a knot of nerves, pulled tighter by every glance Catherine had given her that evening in the tasting room. The wine, the proximity, the words. One of those answers changes everything. She hadn't replied. Couldn't. Because if she'd said what she wanted to say, she would have had to face it. That she wanted Catherine badly, illogically, illegally, almost. And Catherine knew it. The way she looked at her like she already owned the pieces Aria was trying so hard to keep in place. Now it was morning. The sun was too bright, her coffee too strong, her inbox too full. And right there at the top sat the message from Catherine Voss. Subject confidential. Aria, pack a bag. 2 nights presentation in Chicago. You're coming with me. The Aria stared at the screen. Her heart thudded. This couldn't be real. Travel with the CEO. Just the two of them. No one else had been copied, no assistant, no manager, just her. She read the email 5 more times before replying. On it, short, safe, lying, because nothing about this felt safe. Still, by Wednesday evening, Aria was at the airport boarding a late-night flight with Catherine beside her. Dressed down in black slacks and a silk blouse that still looked more expensive than Aria's entire wardrobe. They barely spoke on the flight. Aria tried to read, but every time Catherine shifted beside her, her body reacted like it was being touched. They arrived at the hotel close to midnight. A 5-star tower of glass and marble. Catherine barely glanced at the receptionist. Everything was prearranged. "You're in the suite next to mine," she said, handing Aria a key card. "Be ready at 8. Presentation's at 9 o'clock. Breakfast is optional." "You don't eat breakfast?" Aria asked, more to say something than anything else. Catherine's mouth curved. "Rarely, but you look like someone who needs coffee before conversation." "I need coffee before breathing. Then I'll have one sent up. Good night, Aria." She disappeared into her room, door clicking shut like punctuation. Aria stood in the hallway for 3 whole minutes before unlocking her own door. The suite was huge, luxurious, too many mirrors. She showered, changed, got into bed, and didn't sleep. Every sound made her think of Catherine. A door creaking, water pipes, the quiet hum of HVAC. Her brain invented images. Catherine walking the hallway barefoot, unbuttoning her blouse, brushing her teeth, pulling her hair down. Aria rolled over, groaned into her pillow, and told herself to get a grip. Morning came too fast. At 7:59 a.m., there was a knock on her door. She opened it in a rush, still adjusting her blazer, and found Catherine holding a to-go tray with 2 lattes. "You weren't kidding," Catherine said, handing one over. "Extra shot. No sugar, just milk." "I asked Sabrina what you usually order." "You asked about my coffee order." "I want to do functional," Catherine said. "Not flatlining in front of the client." "I'll take that as caring," Aria said, sipping. "Do that." The ride to the venue was short. The meeting shorter. Arya crushed the presentation. Every slide landed. Every point hit. The client was impressed. And so was Catherine, if the nod she gave afterward meant anything. But it wasn't until they were alone in the town car on the way back that the air shifted again. "You looked confident today," Catherine said, her voice low. "I was terrified. You didn't show it. Are you always watching me that closely?" "Only when I want to be impressed." Arya looked over. Their eyes met. It lingered. Catherine's gaze dipped slightly, mouth, neck, shoulder, before returning to her face. "Have dinner with me tonight," she said. Not a question, not an order, something between. Arya's pulse spiked. "Is this part of the job? Does it need to be?" Arya hesitated. "What do you want it to be?" Catherine didn't answer, just smiled, slow and devastating. 7. Hotel restaurant. Wear something you like. The door opened before Arya could respond. Back at the hotel, she stood in front of the mirror at 6:45 p.m. wearing a dress she'd packed last minute, never thinking she'd actually wear it. It was black, simple, but hugged her in all the right places. She looked good, maybe too good, or maybe not enough. She had no idea what Catherine would wear or what this was, but she was going. At 7:03, she walked into the restaurant and saw her. Catherine was already seated, wearing deep burgundy, hair down, lips matching the wine in her glass. She looked up and the smile that slid across her mouth made Arya nearly forget how to breathe. "You're late," Catherine said. "You said 7. It's 7:03. I like to keep people on edge." "You don't need help doing that." Arya sat across from her. Their knees almost touched. The waiter came. They ordered. And then it began. The flirting, the quiet tension. Catherine asked about her art. Arya asked how she became CEO. They laughed. Catherine drank slowly, her fingers wrapped around the stem of the glass like it was something alive. "Why did you bring me here?" Arya asked finally. Catherine didn't blink. "Because I wanted to see what you'd do when you weren't hiding behind work." "And what do you see?" "Someone dangerous," Catherine said. "Someone who doesn't realize how easy she is to watch." That sounds a lot like a confession. It might be. The check came. Catherine paid. Outside. The air was cool. Catherine didn't say goodbye. She walked to the elevator, pressed the button, and when the doors opened, she stepped in and held the door. "Coming?" Arya stared. 1 step. 2. She got in. Silence. Floor 12, 11, 10. The air crackled on 9. Catherine turned. "If you're going to stop this," she said, voice soft and dangerous. "This is the moment." Arya didn't move. "And if I don't," Catherine stepped closer. Their mouths were inches apart. "Then everything changes." The door opened on her floor. Catherine stepped out, turned, looked back. "Good night, Arya." Then the door slid shut, leaving Arya inside, breathless, pulse pounding, her body on fire from something that hadn't even happened. By Monday morning, everything had changed. Except nothing had. Arya sat at her desk like always, fingers hovering over her keyboard. Trying to type, trying to think, trying to pretend that she hadn't spent the weekend replaying every second of that elevator ride. Every breath between her and Catherine, every almost that hadn't happened. Her body still remembered the proximity, the heat, the unspoken promise in Catherine's voice. "If you're going to stop this, this is the moment." But Arya hadn't stopped it. She hadn't said no. She just stood there trembling, silent, watching Catherine walk away like she hadn't just cracked open the floor beneath them. And now here they were, back at work, back in the daylight, back where the rules applied. Only the rules didn't feel quite so solid anymore. Her phone buzzed. Slack message. Catherine Voss, 9:17 a.m. 10 a.m. Glasswing room. Bring the mock-ups alone. Arya stared at the screen. Alone hit harder than it should have. She replied with a simple thumbs up, then stood, grabbing her tablet and trying to control the way her pulse jumped like it was preparing for a sprint. The Glasswing room was always empty this early. It was mostly used for late client dinners or board retreats, not secret design meetings that smelled like tension and unfinished sentences. She opened the door and there Catherine was already inside, back turned, phone in hand. Her hair was down today, curled softly at the ends, and she wasn't wearing a jacket, just a deep green blouse that made her eyes darker and her posture more dangerous. She turned when Arya stepped in, and for a moment, neither of them said anything. Then Catherine's voice cut through the silence like a scalpel. Close the door, Arya did. It clicked shut louder than it should have. I have the new versions, Arya said, walking to the table. Her voice sounded too high. Too careful. I stayed late, too. You didn't answer me. Catherine interrupted. In Chicago, in the elevator, Arya blinked. You didn't ask a question. I said everything would change. And it did, Arya whispered. But you left. You didn't stop me. I didn't want to, Arya said before she could stop herself. Silence again, sharp waited. Then Catherine moved slowly, deliberately. She crossed the room with the kind of grace that should be studied until she stood just a breath away from Arya. Do you want me to leave now? She asked, voice low. No, Arya said, throat tight. Say it louder. No, say my name. Catherine, that did something. Something small and dangerous in Catherine's eyes. She reached out, not quite touching, her hand hovering near Arya's wrist. This is reckless, she murmured. You know that. Then why are you still here? Because I want to know what it feels like to stop pretending. And then she kissed her, soft at first, barely a whisper, testing, waiting. But Arya didn't hesitate. Her hands reached up, fingers tangling in Catherine's blouse, pulling her closer like gravity had finally given up trying to keep them apart. The kiss deepened, lost its precision, turned into something messy and real, mouths parting, breath catching, years of restraint melting into heat and motion. Arya backed into the table, Catherine pressing into her, one hand on her waist, the other braced against the surface beside them. They didn't speak. There were no words left for this. Only touch, only breath. Only the way Catherine made her feel like the room was too small for the air between them. And then the door opened. Neither of them had locked it. The sound of it broke the moment like a gunshot. They pulled apart instantly, breathless, flushed, caught. A voice gasped. Arya turned her head, heart stopping. Sabrina standing in the doorway, frozen, wide-eyed. Sorry, she said, voice too calm, too clipped. I didn't realize the room was occupied. Catherine's entire posture changed in an instant, straightening, smoothing, becoming CEO again with terrifying speed. Sabrina, I'll come back later. The door closed. The silence after was unbearable. Arya pulled away, smoothing her hair, trying to remember how to breathe. That's it, she whispered. We're done. We're so done. No, Catherine said, voice sharp. We are not, she saw us. She won't say anything. You don't know that. I do, Catherine insisted. Sabrina is loyal to you, Arya said. Not to me. That's silence again. Catherine stepped back. Do you regret it? Arya didn't answer. She couldn't. She felt too raw, too exposed. This can't happen again, Arya said. Not here. Not like this. Then where? I don't know. Arya snapped. Anywhere that doesn't ruin everything. Catherine looked at her for a long moment, something hard flickering behind her eyes. Then, with impossible calm, she nodded. Fine. And she walked out, leaving Arya standing alone, lips still burning, chest still rising and falling like she'd just run a marathon she hadn't trained for. It had been 4 days since the kiss, and Arya hadn't seen Catherine once. Not in person, not on Zoom, not even passing in the hallways. It was like the woman had disappeared into a sleek, expensive cloud of avoidance, leaving Arya to unravel alone. And unravel she did slowly, painfully. At first, she told herself it was for the best. That silence was a mercy. But silence, it turned out, was only peaceful if your entire body wasn't vibrating with memory of a hand at your waist, a mouth on your skin, a breath that said, "Don't stop." Arya tried to bury herself in work. She submitted projects early. She stayed late. She smiled too brightly when Liam asked if she was okay and said things like just tired and crazy weak. Like that explained the fact that she couldn't sleep and flinched every time her Slack pinged. And Sabrina was quiet, too quiet. She didn't bring Arya her usual budget forms. She didn't nod when they passed in the hallway. She didn't even fake a smile, which made Arya spiral faster. She couldn't shake the image of Sabrina's face in that doorway. Eyes wide, mouth slightly open. She saw it when she blinked. She dreamed about it. It haunted her like a warning. She couldn't interpret. And Catherine's absence, that was worse. It meant nothing or it meant everything. It meant she was protecting herself or it meant she was trying to erase it. And Arya had no idea which was worse. Then came the email. Thursday 3:12 p.m. No subject, no signature, just one line. You should be more careful where you kiss your boss. Arya froze. Her breath caught. She stared at the screen like it had betrayed her. Then read the line again and again. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. Useless. She checked the sender. A burner Gmail. No name, no trace, no reply address. She clicked away from it, clicked back. It was still there. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Her phone buzzed. A Slack message from Catherine. Catherine. Boss. 3:15 p.m. My office now. Arya's stomach dropped. Not because of the tone. It was always cold, but because of the timing. She didn't think. She stood. She walked past coworkers, past curious eyes, straight to the private elevator she was technically never allowed to use. She arrived at Catherine's office with her heart in her throat and her guilt all over her skin. Sabrina wasn't at her desk. The lights were dimmed. Arya knocked once, then pushed the door open. Catherine stood by the window, back to her, hands clasped behind her. She didn't turn. Close the door. Arya. Did you get it too? She asked. Her voice cracked. The email. Catherine nodded once. Still didn't turn. Do you know who sent it? No, Arya said. Do you believe it was Sabrina? No, Catherine said quickly. Too quickly. She wouldn't. But she saw. And she's loyal. To you, Arya said. Not to me. Finally, Catherine turned. Her face was unreadable. Her voice too calm. I can handle this. What does that mean? It means this doesn't leave this room. It already did, Arya whispered. Someone knows and they won't be able to prove it. You're not hearing me, Arya said, stepping closer. Someone saw us. Someone's watching us. I can't. Do you trust me? Catherine interrupted. That silenced her. Catherine stepped forward, closing the space between them. Do you? I don't know, Arya said. I want to then do, Catherine said. Let me protect you. Protect me from what? From fallout? From scandal? From becoming the headline of a story you didn't write. Arya wanted to believe her. God, she wanted to, but there was a crack in her chest that no amount of power or money or whispered promises could seal. What happens if this gets out? She asked. You'll survive, Catherine said. But I won't. The admission was quiet, raw, shocking. Arya looked up. I built this company on precision control image. If people knew she didn't finish, she didn't have to. Arya felt something in her tighten twist. So, what do? We act normal, Catherine said. We don't text. We don't call. We work, we pretend. And the kiss, Arya asked. It didn't happen, Catherine said. Her voice was still, her face a mask. Not here. Not now. Arya felt like she'd been slapped. You kissed me and now I'm unking you. That's not how this works. It's how it has to work. So that's it. Arya said, voice breaking. You pretend it didn't happen and I go back to acting like you're just my boss. Yes. Arya shook her head. I can't do that. Then don't. What? Go home. Take a sick day. Leave early. Do whatever you need to do. But if you stay, you will keep it together. You will not fall apart in this office. Not over me. Too late. Arya said. She turned, walked out. Not fast. Not slow. Just steady enough to keep from crumbling. Back at her desk, the screen still glowed with that anonymous message. You should be more careful where you kiss your boss. She deleted it, emptied her trash, logged out, and still she felt watched, like someone was waiting for her to break. And maybe, just maybe, she already had. By Friday, Arya had mastered the art of pretending. She smiled when spoken to, laughed at the right moments, nodded in meetings. She submitted 2 projects ahead of schedule, reorganized a team board, and answered emails like nothing in her world was unraveling, but she didn't feel steady. Not really. Every time her inbox refreshed, her heart paused. Every time she walked past Sabrina, her shoulders stiffened. And every time she caught a glimpse of Catherine, even from across the room, even just her silhouette through the glass, something inside her twisted so sharply it almost made her gasp. They hadn't spoken since that day in Catherine's office. They hadn't touched. Catherine didn't even look at her now, not directly, but Arya could feel it. That weight, that ache, that awful gravity between them trying to pull something broken back together. It would have been easier if she could hate her. But she didn't. She just missed her. Craved her. Wanted something she didn't know how to ask for without setting the whole building on fire. She told herself she'd survive it. Told herself it would pass. But then came the second email. Saturday 10:21 a.m. No subject, no name, just an attachment. Image _00001 JPG. Her hands trembled as she clicked. It was them, the kiss. Blurry but unmistakable. Catherine's hand on her waist. Aria's fingers curled in her blouse. The angle was low, tilted, taken from a crack in the door. Her stomach flipped. Her skin went cold. This wasn't just a threat. This was leverage. Beneath the image was a single line. I wonder what the board would think of this. She stared at it for a full minute before slamming her laptop shut and standing up so fast her chair tipped. Her apartment suddenly felt too small, too quiet. She grabbed her phone, keys, coat, needed air, movement, anything but that image still burning in her mind. The city was cold, but she didn't notice. She walked blocks without thinking, heart racing, thoughts spiraling. Someone had seen, someone had planned to see. This wasn't about catching them by accident anymore. This was control. This was someone waiting for the right moment to use it. She tried to think, who would do this? Who hated them enough? Who had something to gain? But nothing made sense. Not yet. By the time she got back home, her hands were numb and her phone had 6 missed calls, all from Catherine. The last message was a text. We need to talk now. Aria didn't reply. She didn't know how. She spent the rest of the weekend in a fog, afraid to check her email again, afraid of what else might come. Monday arrived too fast. Her eyes burned from lack of sleep. Her body ached with the tension of too many secrets and nowhere to put them. The first thing she saw when she entered the office was a note on her desk. Handwritten, clean, simple. Level 28 Conference C, 10 o'clock. No name, but she knew who it was from. Catherine hadn't used paper since 2019, but of course she would now. No trace, no risk. Aria showed up at 10:01. The room was empty, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, the city stretching far below. Catherine stood near the edge, arms crossed, jaw tight. When she turned, her expression was unreadable, but her eyes were storm-dark. I got it too, she said without preamble. The photo. Aria nodded. Did you trace the sender? No. Burner account masked IP. Whoever this is, they know what they're doing. What do they want? Nothing yet. So, they're just watching. Waiting, Catherine said. For what? For us to panic. Aria laughed sharp and bitter. Too late. Catherine stepped closer. Aria, don't. Aria said. Don't say my name like that. Not when you won't even meet my eyes in the hallway. I'm trying to protect you. No, you're trying to protect yourself. Is that so wrong? Catherine's voice snagged. I built this company from nothing. I've spent years keeping every inch of it immaculate. You think I can afford a scandal? Then why kiss me? Aria snapped. Why start something you knew you wouldn't finish? Catherine didn't answer. The silence said enough. You asked if I trusted you, Aria said. I wanted to. I still do. But you don't trust me. You won't even fight for me. That's not true. Then prove it. They stood there, staring, two storms about to break. Catherine stepped in, closer than she should, hand lifting, pausing, then settling lightly on Aria's arm. Let me fix this, she said. I'll find out who it is. I'll end it before it starts. Just let me protect you. Aria looked down at her hand. It was warm, familiar, dangerous. And then what? She asked. When the emails stop, when the photo's gone, we pretend again. No, Catherine said. Not this time. Then what are we? Catherine didn't speak, but her eyes said everything. Aria stepped back. I need to work. You need to let me in, Catherine said softly. Not until you stop hiding, Aria replied. She walked out before Catherine could stop her. Back at her desk, her laptop pinged. A new email, no subject, no signature, just a new image. This time, it wasn't a photo. It was a draft email addressed to the entire board. Subject, Code of Conduct violation. The body of the email was empty, but the meaning was clear. They were one click away from destruction. Aria didn't sleep again. This time, it wasn't about longing or guilt or the memory of Catherine's hands on her skin. It was the dread. The image of that unsent email sitting in her inbox, waiting like a loaded gun. One click away, one impulse, one spiteful move from someone who knew too much. And whoever it was, they weren't finished. They were playing a game. And Arya couldn't stand sitting back while someone else pulled the strings. So, she did what she did best. She worked. She analyzed. She hunted for patterns. The photo was taken from a low angle near the door hinge. That meant whoever took it had to be inside the building, had to know their meeting schedule, had to know which rooms were booked for what, and that narrowed it down. Sabrina had the calendar. So did two of the office assistants, the IT guy, the HR liaison. But only one of them had been acting different lately. Only one had stopped looking Arya in the eye. Only one had always been there, quietly taking notes, holding files, watching everything. Tessa. Arya didn't know much about her. Tessa worked directly under Catherine's assistant. Always quiet, efficient, invisible in the way that made you forget she was in the room, which made her the perfect observer. Monday afternoon, Arya waited until Tessa left her desk to accidentally drop a folder outside her office. When Tessa bent to help her pick it up, Arya offered a tight smile. "Thanks. You're always around when people need help." "It's part of the job," Tessa said, too neutral. "You must know everything about this place." "Not really." "I bet you do," Arya pushed. "Like, who books all the private rooms? Who has access to the internal meeting logs? Who sets up the AV equipment? Who knows when the doors don't quite close all the way?" Tessa's face didn't change, but her eyes did. Just a flicker. Just enough. Arya stood slowly. "If you ever want to talk," she said, voice calm. "You know where to find me." She didn't wait for a response. She walked away, pulse racing, heart thudding with something between fear and clarity. It might not be Tessa, but if it was, Arya would need more than suspicions. She needed proof. That night, she texted Liam. "Hey, weird question. You still have access to the camera logs from that day we had the power glitch?" Liam responded in less than a minute. "Sure. Why? Can you check who was on the level 28 that day around 10 a.m.? Just curious." Liam sent a thumbs up. 30 minutes later, he texted again. "Only 2 badges scanned in that morning on level 28. Yours and Tessa Marlowe's." Arya stared at the message, ball rising in her throat. She knew it. She knew it. She didn't tell Catherine. Not yet. Not until she had something solid. Because if she was wrong, it would blow everything up. And if she was right, it might already be too late. The next morning, Catherine called her into a meeting. Real official. Other department heads were there. Sabrina was back at her desk. All business. Tessa walked past Arya with a perfectly practiced smile. And for a moment, Arya felt insane. Like she'd imagined it all, like none of this had ever happened. After the meeting, Catherine pulled her aside. "We're meeting a new client offsite this afternoon. Come with me." Arya blinked. "Why me?" "Because I trust you." The irony stung, but Arya said, yes. The meeting was in a sleek rooftop lounge downtown. Minimalist decor, expensive cocktails, private enough to talk, but public enough to pretend. They sat in a corner booth while the client droned on about branding synergy. Arya nodded, smiled, took notes she'd never read, and all the while, she could feel Catherine's presence beside her like a second heartbeat. Halfway through, Catherine leaned in, her voice low. "You're quiet." "I'm listening." "You're angry." "Should I not be?" "This isn't easy for me either," Catherine whispered. "Then why are you still hiding?" Catherine didn't answer. The client finally left. Drinks arrived. Arya didn't touch hers. "We're not going to make it through this," she said softly. "Not if you keep pretending I'm just another employee." "You're not," Catherine said. "You never were." "Then prove it." "How?" "Trust me," Arya said. "With the truth. With what you're really afraid of." Catherine's hand twitched on the table, but she didn't speak. Just looked at her like maybe, just maybe, she was about to finally say something that mattered, but then her phone buzzed. She glanced down. Her face went pale. "I have to go." "What?" "It's urgent, Catherine. We'll talk later." She stood, walked away again. Arya sat there, heart pounding, jaw tight. Back at the office, Liam met her near the elevators. "Got something?" he said. "You're going to want to see this." They ducked into an empty meeting room. Liam pulled up security logs. Look. He showed her badge activity, security pings, timestamps. Tessa had not only been on the level 28 that morning, she'd accessed the shared server 15 minutes after Arya and Catherine's meeting ended. And 20 minutes later, the first email had been created. Arya stared at the screen. It's her. Liam nodded. I think so. I need to talk to Catherine. But when Arya went to find her, Sabrina blocked the way. She's in a private meeting. It's important. She's not available. Arya frowned. What kind of meeting? Sabrina didn't answer, but Arya heard voices behind the closed door. Familiar voices. Catherine's and Tessa's. Her blood ran cold. What is she doing in there? Sabrina looked away. Arya, she said quietly. Don't what? Don't go in. Why? Because she won't believe you if you walk in angry. Arya stepped back, breath shaky, hands trembling, and for the first time, she realized this wasn't just a threat anymore. This was betrayal, and it might already be happening behind that door. Arya paced outside Catherine's office for 20 minutes. Sabrina had returned to her desk, face unreadable, eyes not meeting hers. The closed door behind her was a wall Arya couldn't scale. And on the other side of it, Tessa, still inside, still talking to Catherine, still holding something Arya couldn't see. She clenched her fists. This was it. This was the moment everything shifted. She could feel it like the second before a storm breaks. Thick air, too still, too quiet. When the door finally opened, Tessa stepped out first, adjusting her blouse with a satisfied smirk. She didn't even flinch when her eyes met Arya's. She just smiled. That smug, careful, deliberate smile. Arya, she said like nothing was wrong. Nice seeing you again. Then she walked away. Arya didn't wait. She stepped inside the office without knocking. Catherine was still standing by her desk, arms crossed, expression carved from marble. What was she doing in here? Arya demanded. Why was she alone with you? It was a professional matter, Catherine replied. Too flat, too fast. You didn't answer my messages, Arya said. I found proof. I know it was her. Liam pulled security data. Tessa accessed the servers. She was on the floor that day. I know. The words hit Arya like a slap. You what? I know it was her. How long? Catherine didn't answer. Arya stepped closer. How long have you known? 3 days. Catherine said quietly. And you didn't tell me because I was trying to control the damage. You were trying to control me. I was protecting you by talking to her behind my back. She came to me, Catherine said, voice rising. She brought the file. She threatened to leak everything. And she made it very clear what she wanted in exchange for silence. What did she want? A promotion, a raise, direct access to the board. Leverage, and you gave it to her, Arya asked, heart pounding. Catherine didn't speak. Her silence was enough. You gave in? Arya choked. You're letting her walk around here with power she stole. It was the only way to keep the photo out of circulation. Catherine said, jaw clenched. The board sees that and it's over for me. For us, for the company. You don't understand what I've built. You're right. Arya snapped. I don't understand how you can throw away your integrity like that. How you can let her blackmail you and just live with it. It's not about integrity, Catherine said. It's about survival. Then maybe we want different things. Maybe we do. The room was silent again. This time it hurt. Arya stepped back. You're not the woman I thought you were. And what woman is that? Someone who would fight for the things that matter. I am fighting. No. Arya said. You're folding. Catherine's eyes flashed. Don't pretend like this is easy for me. Don't pretend like I didn't risk everything for you. You kissed me, Arya said. You said you wanted more, but the second things got hard, you picked the safer option. You think I feel safe? Catherine snapped. Every email, every glance, every whisper in this office could destroy me. And you think I don't lie awake wondering if I've already lost everything just because I couldn't stay away from you? Arya's throat tightened. Then don't lose me. Fix this with me. Not behind my back. Not with lies. It's too late for that, Catherine said. I've already made the deal. Arya stared at her. Then we're done. Don't, Catherine said quickly. Arya, no. If you can't stand beside me when it matters, then I don't want to be part of this. You're angry. I'm heartbroken. Arya turned, walked toward the door. You think you saved everything, but you lost me. And then she was gone. She left the building, ignored every message, every call, every attempt Catherine made to reach her. That night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how something so electric, so alive, had turned into silence until her phone buzzed. No caller ID, just a message. Are you ready to fight yet? Because she isn't. Arya stared at it, her heart thundering. Another message came. Meet me tomorrow. 11 a.m. Lobby Cafe. I have more to show you. There was no name. But she didn't need one. It wasn't Tessa. It wasn't Catherine. It was someone else. Someone who wanted to burn it all down. And now they were reaching out to her. Arya didn't sleep again. The anonymous message haunted her through every hour of the night, every tick of the clock, every attempt to convince herself it wasn't a trap. But she knew. She knew something had shifted. Whoever had sent it wasn't Tessa. Tessa had already played her hand. Blackmail. Power grab. Done. This was someone else. Someone who didn't want silence. Someone who wanted chaos. She got to the cafe early. Ordered a coffee she barely touched. Sat by the window with her heart punching her ribs. 10:58, 10:59. 11 o'clock, a figure slid into the chair across from her. Arya blinked. Sabrina. Catherine's assistant smiled softly. She looked exhausted, older somehow, like she'd aged 3 years in the past 3 weeks. Hi, Arya. Arya blinked again, stunned. It was you. Not all of it, but some. Why? Because I thought you deserved the truth. Because I knew Catherine wouldn't give it to you. And because she paused. I've been protecting her for too long. Arya stared. I don't understand. Sabrina leaned in. I've worked with Catherine for 9 years. I've watched her rise. I've watched her build this empire with grit and brilliance, and I've seen what it cost, what she gave up, who she had to become to keep it, Sabrina said. So you decided to tear it down? No. I decided to warn you. About what? Tessa wasn't acting alone. Arya's breath snagged. What? She was the bait. The obvious one. The one Catherine would notice. But the mind behind her, the one pulling every string. Sabrina paused. It's someone on the board. No, Arya whispered. Yes. Someone who's waited for Catherine to make one mistake big enough to crack a door open. And you, she looked at Arya, you were that door. You think this is my fault? No, Sabrina said softly. I think they used you. They knew exactly how Catherine would react to you, that she wouldn't be able to resist. And when she fell, they were ready. Who? Arya asked. Who on the board? If I knew, I wouldn't be standing here like this, Sabrina said. Cold crept along Arya's spine. So what now? Now you decide. You can run. You can stay away. Or you can go back and tell her what I just told you. Why would I do that? Because she's still fighting, Sabrina said. Even if it doesn't look like it, she's trying to shield you from the blast. She just doesn't know how to be vulnerable. And you do? I know what fear looks like when it's wearing a $900 suit and pretending it's forged from steel. Arya looked down. She let Tessa blackmail her. She didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. Is there? Sabrina asked. Would you have let her lose everything? Would you have watched her go down just to prove a point? Arya's throat tightened. I don't know anymore. Sabrina stood. You do. That's why you're here. Arya didn't respond. She couldn't. She just sat there long after Sabrina left. The coffee cold in her hand. Her mind spinning. A board member, a setup, a trap. Catherine stuck in a game she couldn't see the edges of. That night, Arya stood outside Catherine's building for 20 minutes before finally buzzing up. No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. Finally, a message from Catherine. Not a good time. Arya texted back. I know about Tessa. I know it goes deeper. A pause. Then another message. Come up. When Catherine opened the door, she looked wrecked. Her hair was pulled back too tight. Her blazer was wrinkled. There was a glass of something amber on the table half full. You found out, she said. Sabrina told me. Arya said. And I have proof that Tessa was working with someone. Who? I don't know, but they're close. You need to look at your board. Catherine laughed bitterly. I am the board. Not all of it. No, just the face. Arya stepped closer. You can't keep pretending this isn't happening. I'm not, Catherine said. I'm just trying to stay alive long enough to fix it. Then let me help. Why? Catherine asked, voice raw. After everything I did, why are you here? Arya looked at her. Really looked and felt every ounce of the pain, the power, the panic behind those tired eyes. Because I still care. Because I still want you. And because I'm tired of running from this. Catherine exhaled. You are never just another employee. And you are never just my boss. Silence stretched. Then Catherine stepped forward. If we do this, there's no going back. Good, Arya said. Because I'm not going back. They kissed, not like before. Not urgent, not forbidden, but like truth, like something finally real. But before the kiss could deepen, Catherine's phone rang. She ignored it. It rang again and again. Finally, she picked up. Her face went white. What? She breathed. Arya watched as she dropped the phone. What is it? They leaked the photo. Catherine said. It's online. It's everywhere. Arya's blood froze. What? We were too late. Catherine whispered. It's already begun. It was everywhere. Arya saw it the moment she opened Twitter. A blurry but unmistakable photo of her and Catherine. Mid-kiss. Mid-moment. Froze never in pixelated infamy. The caption was simple. CEO Catherine Voss caught an office romance with junior employee underneath tags, hashtags, fire emojis, scandal threads. Then came the blogs, the gossip sites, the think pieces. By the time she made it into the office the next morning, the building buzzed with a new kind of silence, thick, poisonous, and watching her every move. Liam avoided her eyes. Sabrina wouldn't even meet her at the elevator. It felt like walking through a minefield wearing nothing but skin and Catherine nowhere. Her office was sealed shut. Her name just a rumor behind every closed door. At her desk, Arya opened her laptop. 42 emails, 17 media inquiries, 5 from HR, 1 from her landlord. She opened the one from HR first. Please report to conference room 3A at 10:30 a.m. for an internal compliance interview. Beneath it, cold corporate language about breaches of conduct. Image risk employee relations. Her hands shook as she closed it. By 10:29, she was outside the conference room. Inside sat 2 people she didn't know, both in suits, both pretending not to judge her. They asked questions like knives, polite, precise, and cruel. How long had the relationship been going on? Was it consensual? Did she feel coerced? Did Catherine ever promise her advancement? Arya kept her answers short, clear, honest. But no matter what she said, she knew the truth didn't matter. The story was already written in headlines. She was the reckless employee. Catherine was the corrupt executive. And everything they tried to protect had already been burned to ash. When she was finally released, she walked to the elevator with her stomach in her throat. Her phone buzzed. A message. My office now, Catherine. She didn't hesitate. The door was already open when she arrived. Catherine stood by the window, looking smaller than Arya had ever seen her. No suit jacket, no heels, just a woman unraveling quietly behind tinted glass. Close the door, Catherine said. Arya did. They want me to resign, Catherine said without turning around. Effective immediately. Public statement. Clean break. Protect the company. Rebuild the image. Arya's chest tightened. What did you say? I said no. I told them I'd rather burn the place down than let them control my narrative. Arya stepped closer. And then what? And then they told me if I didn't comply, they'd make it worse. That they'd leak internal HR complaints. That they'd spin the story harder. That I'd lose my severance, my shares, everything. She turned then, eyes hollow. They've been waiting for this. Who? 2 members of the board. I know now. I have names. One of them pulled Tessa in. Promised her a promotion. Promised they'd protect her if she took us down. They never wanted to stop the scandal. They wanted it to explode. And it did, Arya whispered. Catherine nodded. They won. No, Arya said. Not yet, Arya. You can't give them what they want. Not after everything. You didn't fight this hard to be erased by cowards in expensive shoes. Catherine laughed, but it broke halfway. I'm tired. Then lean on me, Arya said. Let me help. You already have. Then let me keep doing it. Catherine stepped closer, reached out like she didn't trust her own hand. They're going to drag you through hell. They already are. You could still walk away. Save yourself. I'm already in this, Arya said. And I'm not leaving you alone in it. Why? Because I love you, Arya said. The words felt like fire and freedom. And I'm done pretending that I don't. Catherine froze. Her breath hitched. Her eyes flickered. Shock, fear, wonder, all layered in glass. Say it again. I love you. You're insane. So are you. Do it with me, Catherine said suddenly. A joint statement. No apologies, no shame, just the truth. We didn't break rules. We fell in love. And if they want to destroy us for it, let them try. Are you sure? I'm sure of you, Catherine said. Arya smiled through the panic. Then let's give them a headline they'll never forget. That afternoon, they drafted the statement together. They wrote every word as a choice. No apologies, no denials, just honesty, respect, and love. At 5:30 p.m., it went live. Press release, socials, email blast, a photo of them, not the leaked one, but a new one taken minutes before. Arya and Catherine standing side by side, hands barely touching. Two women at the edge of a war, and they'd chosen to stand together. By 6:12 p.m., the board issued an internal response. An emergency meeting will be held tomorrow at 9 a.m. to determine appropriate action regarding this matter. By 7:04, Arya's email locked her out. By 7:06, her phone lost access to company systems. Catherine too, they were out, cut off, quietly, crewy, without a single word of thanks for the years she bled into the building's bones. But as they sat together in Arya's apartment that night on the floor eating takeout, legs touching, Catherine said something that made all of it worth it. They took everything. Not everything, Arya whispered. Catherine looked at her and her face, God, her face, wasn't cold anymore. It was full of grief and gratitude and the kind of love that doesn't have to be said to be known. Tomorrow, Arya said. We fight together, Catherine said. But even then, as they curled into each other like a fortress of two, Arya knew tomorrow would break something. She just didn't know what. They didn't sleep. Not because they didn't want to, but because sleep required peace. And there was none. Not after the statement. Not after the shutdown. Not after the looks on the street, in the lobby, online, everywhere. The world had opinions now, and none of them knew the full story. Catherine had spent her entire career controlling narratives, and now she was the narrative. Twisted, broken, sensationalized. Arya didn't let go of her hand the entire night. By morning, the board meeting was underway. They weren't invited, of course, but that didn't stop the whispers from reaching them. Catherine's assistant, Sabrina, showed up at Arya's apartment at 10:13 a.m., her coat soaked in rain, eyes dark with urgency. They're voting, she said. Now, Arya asked. Yes. They're moving fast. They want her erased. They want to install interim leadership and spin the story before the media gets too wild. Too late, Catherine murmured from the kitchen, holding her coffee like armor. They're already drowning. Sabrina stepped forward. There might be one way to stop it. To flip the narrative completely. Catherine arched an eyebrow. Unless you've got a secret recording of the chairman plotting my downfall, I'm not interested in long shots. Sabrina hesitated. I don't have that, but I know someone who might. That got their attention. Who? Arya asked. Her name's Monica Shaw. She's on the legal team. Quiet. Brilliant. She's been sitting on something for months. Financial discrepancies, unauthorized bonuses, corporate votes that weren't properly recorded. She tried to bring it up to the board last quarter. They shut her down. Let me guess, Catherine said. She vanished into a strategic transition role and hasn't been heard from since. Exactly. But I kept in touch, and when she saw what happened with you two, she reached out. Why now? Arya asked. Because now she has leverage, Sabrina said. If you two go public with what she found, real corruption, embezzlement, manipulation, then suddenly the Kiss scandal doesn't matter anymore. Suddenly they're the story. You flip the power, and Monica just wants to do this out of the kindness of her heart. Catherine asked, skeptical. Sabrina hesitated. Not exactly. She has conditions. Of course she does. She wants to be reinstated. VP level with full immunity. She wants her name cleared, her file scrubbed, and a written apology from the board. Reasonable, Arya said. And Sabrina glanced at Catherine, then at Arya. She also wants you, she said softly, to step away. Arya blinked. Me? Not permanently, but for now. Monica thinks that as long as you two are still a thing, the board has a distraction. They can spin it, twist it. If you disappear, at least publicly, it gives Monica's evidence room to breathe, room to be taken seriously. So, I become the sacrifice, Arya said. You become the silence that forces them to listen, Sabrina corrected. Catherine stepped forward. No, Catherine. No, she repeated firmer. We're not playing their game. Not like that. Not again. It's not their game anymore, Sabrina said. It's ours, but only if we're smart. Arya looked at Catherine. She's right. This might be the only way to shift the spotlight. You think I care about the spotlight? I think you care about your legacy, about your name, about the company you built. Catherine's jaw clenched. Not more than I care about you. Then trust me to do this. And what if I lose you? You won't, Arya said softer. You'll just have to miss me for a while. I've missed you before. I hated it. So did I, Arya whispered. But this time, we do it for something bigger than both of us. Sabrina cleared her throat. She's waiting, Monica. She wants to meet you both. Neutral location 1 hour. Catherine was still visibly tense, but she nodded. Where? Lower Manhattan. Private firm. Room secure. No recordings. No trace. Let's go, Arya said. The ride was quiet. The city blurred past the windows like a memory they couldn't hold on to. Catherine didn't let go of Arya's hand. Not even once. Monica Shaw was everything Sabrina said, composed, razor sharp, tired. She laid out documents, charts, internal memos. It was worse than either of them imagined. Falsified board approvals, shadow payments, even attempts to reroute company money into dummy charities owned by relatives of 2 board members. If this goes public, Monica said, it will break the company open and they'll come after you, Catherine said. Monica nodded. Unless I have protection, you'll have it, Catherine said. Whatever you need, then you'll also agree to the last term, she asked, looking directly at Arya. Arya nodded. I will for now. And the relationship on hold, Arya said privately. Monica nodded. Then we begin tonight. After the meeting, Arya and Catherine stood outside in the drizzle under the gray sky that matched everything. I hate this, Catherine said. So do I, Arya whispered. But if it works, when it works, Catherine corrected. We take back everything together, Arya said. Always, Catherine promised. And then she kissed her fast, desperate, like goodbye without saying it. That night, Monica sent the first batch of documents to a journalist at a major publication. The headline was set for morning. And Arya left the city quietly. No social media, no press, no trace, just silence. As agreed. But she left Catherine with a note folded, handwritten, 1 line. I'll be back when the truth is louder than the noise. The story hit like a bomb. By 7:12 a.m., the article was live. Exclusive, corruption allegations shake Voss Industries. Screenshots of financial records, anonymous sources, legal analysis. Monica had done her homework. She hadn't just cracked the door open. She'd ripped it off the hinges. Within an hour, the stock dropped. By noon, 2 board members had temporarily stepped down. By 3, every news outlet in the city had reporters camped outside headquarters. For the first time in weeks, the kiss wasn't the headline. But Catherine was still the face. The press didn't care about nuance. They cared about the photo, the scandal, the downfall. The woman who had built an empire was now a symbol of its collapse. And she stood in the middle of it, head held high, back straight, every inch the CEO. She refused to stop being inside. Though she was cracking, she felt it with every email. She wasn't copied on, every meeting she wasn't invited to, every whisper that stopped when she walked into a room. The board had called an emergency hearing behind closed doors. No lawyers, no allies, just her. She entered the conference hall at 5 p.m. sharp, dressed in black like armor. The long table stretched before her, lined with faces she once thought of as colleagues. Now they were predators circling. Ms. Voss, the chairman began, voice syrupy with false courtesy. You understand why we're here. I understand that 2 of you have been funneling money into illegal channels, Catherine said flatly. And I understand that your attempt to silence me with a scandal just backfired. A murmur rippled around the table. The chairman smiled thinly. Strong words, but unverified. And while the press runs wild with rumors, our duty is to this company, to its stability, to its shareholders, not to your personal indiscretions. He slid a printed photo across the table. The kiss again. Care to explain? Catherine didn't even look at it. No, no. It's exactly what it looks like. Two adults, private, consensual, nothing more, nothing less. If you think that's grounds for dismissal, you're not only out of touch, you're desperate. You've compromised the image of this company. No, Catherine snapped. You did with your greed, with your lies. I've spent my life holding this empire together, and now you want to scapegoat me because you can't control the narrative anymore. The room went quiet. The chairman leaned back, steepling his fingers. Careful, Catherine. The higher you climb, the harder the fall. Then let me fall on my own terms, she shot back. The silence stretched. Finally, one of the quieter members cleared her throat. We have a motion to vote. Effective termination of Catherine Voss as Chief Executive Officer pending further investigation into conduct and financial oversight. Seconded, another said, hands raised. One after another. 1 2 3 5 7 too many. Catherine's chest tightened, her world tilted. And yet she smiled. Cold, dangerous, unbroken. Congratulations, she said. You've just declared war. She stood, gathering her papers. The chairman's voice followed her. You'll be escorted out. Try, Catherine said, walking out on her own terms. Outside the chamber, Sabrina was waiting. Pale, shaken. It's done. They think it is, Catherine said. Sabrina swallowed. What now? Catherine glanced toward the windows where cameras flashed from the street below, journalists shouting her name, and she thought of Arya, of the note she'd left, of the promise written in her hand. I'll be back when the truth is louder than the noise. Catherine's jaw set. Now we fight louder. She pushed open the doors. The press swarmed, microphones shoved in her face. Miss Voss, are you resigning? Is it true you abused your power? Are you stepping down permanently? Catherine raised her hand. Silence rippled. She looked straight into the cameras, her voice steady as a blade. I will not be resigning. I will not be silenced. I built this company with vision and integrity. And I will not let it be torn apart by corruption hiding behind closed doors. You want a headline? Here it is. I'm not done. The crowd roared. Questions flew. Security pushed forward, but it didn't matter. For the first time, the noise wasn't drowning her. She was drowning it. And somewhere far away, Arya would see it, would hear it, would know Catherine was still fighting for herself, for the company, for them. That night, as Catherine sat in her apartment alone, her phone buzz. A new message, no name, just one line. If you keep this up, you won't survive it. And neither will she. Attached a photo of Arya taken that morning, walking alone through the subway, unaware she was being watched. The photo of Arya haunted Catherine all night. It wasn't just a threat. It was proof. Proof that whoever they were fighting wasn't just playing with emails and boardrooms. They were watching, following, hunting. And they knew Arya was the weak spot. The one place Catherine could never armor herself. By morning, she'd made a decision. No more silence. No more playing on defense. If the board wanted a war, she would give them one. Not behind doors, not in whispered meetings, but in front of everyone. She called a press conference for noon. No company approval, no legal filter, just her standing in front of the building she built. At 11:48, she stood at the podium, cameras flashing like lightning, microphones like a forest around her. The city buzzed. The internet streamed. The world watched. You've heard the rumors, she began. Her voice was calm, steady. A storm held in glass. You've seen the headlines, and you've seen the photo. A ripple of movement, phones raised higher, eyes sharper. So, here's the truth. Yes, I fell in love with someone I work with. Yes, I kissed her. Yes, she changed my life. But no, I did not abuse my power. No, I did not coerce her. No, I did not compromise this company for personal gain. The only people who compromise this company are the very ones who are now trying to destroy me. Gasps, murmurs, the chairman's name, another's. She named them. She said the words the board thought she'd never dare. They funneled money into illegal accounts. They silenced whistleblowers. They buried reports. And when the walls began to close in, they looked for a distraction. They found one in me, in her, in us. Her voice softened then, only slightly. Her name is Arya Rios. She is brilliant and brave and dangerous in the way true artists are. And if you think you can use her to hurt me, you're wrong. Because she's not my weakness. She's my strength, and she is not going to disappear for your convenience." The crowd erupted. Questions flew, but Catherine didn't answer. She stepped back, leaving the words to burn. When she turned, Arya was there at the edge of the crowd. She didn't know how she knew, but she did. Arya pushed through, eyes wide, face pale, but determined. And when she reached the podium, she took Catherine's hand. Cameras exploded. The world tilted, but Arya didn't let go. "I told you I'd come back when the truth was louder than the noise," Arya whispered. Catherine's throat tightened. "And I heard you." The crowd roared louder, the sound like thunder. But for a moment, there was only them together. That evening, the fallout began. Monica's documents spread like wildfire. Investigations opened. The two corrupt board members resigned permanently, fleeing into the shadows of their own greed. The media, once rabid for scandal, turned its teeth toward corruption, chasing the bigger story. And Catherine, though technically stripped of her title, became something more dangerous. A symbol, a fighter, a leader who refused to be silenced. Arya faced her own storm. HR tried to push her out quietly, but the public wasn't having it. #trended. #standu with Arya. #Vosrios. People saw them for what they were. Two women who dared to exist, to love, in a place that wanted to erase them. Weeks passed. Investigations deepened. The company restructured, but through it all, they stayed together. They faced reporters, hearings, whispers. They fought battles in boardrooms and bedrooms side by side. And for the first time, Catherine let someone see her break. Let someone hold her when the armor cracked. And Arya, she became more than the woman with the hot mic. She became the reason Catherine remembered why she was fighting at all. The night the final report dropped, clearing Catherine of any wrongdoing and laying the board's crimes out in stark print, they stood on Arya's rooftop, staring over a city that had nearly swallowed them whole. "We won," Arya murmured. "We survived." "We did more than survive," Catherine said. She turned, cradled Arya's face in her hands. "We changed everything." Arya smiled. "Even us." "Especially us," Catherine replied, and kissed her, slow, certain. No cameras, no board, no battlefield. Just the two of them. For the first time in months, it wasn't dangerous. It wasn't forbidden. It was only love, bright, loud, impossible to hush. And whatever came next, they knew they'd meet it together. Always together. If you enjoyed this and want to support the channel in a special way, tap the thanks button below, the heart with the $sign. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution that helps me keep creating more videos for you.